Welcome, this is Township Talk. My name is Steve Kaplan, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. Our special guest today is Amy Neary, and she is the Planning Director for West Bloomfield Township. Welcome, Amy.
Hi.
Amy, how long have you worked for the Township?
I have been with the Township since February of 2016.
You were hired for what position?
Planning Director.
And what is your background? Do you have a college degree along those lines?
Yep. I have a degree in Urban and Regional Planning from Eastern Michigan University.
When did you decide that planning might be an area you would like to explore for a career?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say ever since I was young, I've always enjoyed cities and buildings and development. And when I got to college, I saw some classes that were being offered for an introduction to urban and regional planning for that program. And I took the class and fell in love with it.
Are you from Ohio?
I am from Ohio.
Does that mean you're an Ohio State football fan?
I am a Buckeye, yes.
Well, before joining West Bloomfield Township in 2016, where did you work?
I worked for, prior to coming to West Bloomfield for 17 years, I worked at a consulting firm called McKenna Associates. They're out of Northville, Michigan.
17 years, and you started there when you were about 14?
Exactly.
Well, what was your function working for McKenna?
As a consultant there, I worked for a wide variety of communities. I worked for rural communities, suburban communities, urban communities, doing everything from drafting zoning ordinances to reviewing site plans for new development in their community. I worked on master plans, parks and recreation plans. So working at McKenna for all those years really gave me exposure to a lot of different varieties of planning projects.
Do many people in that position working for, say, a consultant or a firm aspire to be a planner for a city or township?
I think so, yeah. Definitely for me, I wanted to be able to focus my skills and attention in one place and not, work just on one project for one community, but be able to see something from the beginning through the end. And that's, what I think a lot of other planners look for too.
Well, planner is an interesting position because you're a quasi-policy maker. The township board, of course, makes the final decisions, but you're not only involved in determining what might be appropriate, but providing guidance to the township board members.
Correct. We have zoning ordinances, master plans in place that are our formal policy, but sometimes it doesn't address every situation that may come up within a community. So as a planner, I often have to provide guidance to the township board and use that knowledge and background to help them make their decisions.
Well, maybe we should talk about developments in West Bloomfield.
Yeah.
You're involved in every new development, is that fair to say?
That is correct.
And that is because?
That is because as the planner in the planning department, it is our role to administer the zoning ordinance, which regulates how development occurs in the township. We provide staff to the Planning Commission and to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which are more often than not the approving bodies for new development in the community.
Well, we know that West Bloomfield is approximately 32 square miles. As a planner, is it fair to say that some areas are appropriate or suitable for businesses that might not be appropriate for a different area of West Bloomfield?
Correct, and that is the reason for zoning. You have different zoning districts within your community, which is based on the township's master plan for how we want the community to develop, where we can logically plan for where uses are appropriate. So we don't want necessarily a large strip mall in an established residential area. We keep those on our main corridors, and we try to protect the residential areas.
Is a municipality required to have a master plan?
They are required to have a master plan if they want to have zoning, yes. There are very rural communities, maybe up north, that do not have zoning, but if you want zoning, you have to have a plan.
Well, here's our master plan. It's the viewers won't be able to read it, or see it because it's not close up. But there are different areas which show maybe where gas stations are allowed, or restaurants are allowed, or residential areas.
Yep, our community is divided into different zoning districts, and we have different districts for single-family residential. Some allow smaller lots than may be allowed in other areas, and it's really dependent on the character of the area which those homes are located in. And we also have different types of commercial districts. So we have districts like a B1, which is a local business district, that would allow less intense commercial uses. You wouldn't have an automotive-related use in that area. So the community is divided into districts to help make sure we plan appropriately where uses are located.
Well, West Bloomfield is known as a neighborhood type of community.
Yep.
What is meant by that?
Most of our land in our township is used for residential, single family, multiple family, and then we have commercial areas that support that residential. We do not have industrial parks or large employment centers in the township. We are primarily a neighborhood of residential developments that have support from the commercial corridors in our community. Typically, when you look at where our employees or our residents at work, they don't work in the township. They usually travel to somewhere else.
Are we nearly fully developed as a township?
We are, and that brings a challenge to us now as we look at redeveloping sites and how do we improve some of our older developments.
As a township planner, planning director, do you aspire to share with the community your vision? You might have a vision of how the township would be enhanced both aesthetically and in terms of providing services. Do you think about that on a daily basis or weekly basis?
I do. So, excuse me again. I have my own personal vision, of what I think is appropriate, but also I'm guided by the master plan that is adopted by the township and the township board, who is the body that sets policy. So it's not just Amy saying what development should be appropriate in West Bloomfield. I'm really guided by those documents that we have, and my comments are relative to whether the development is appropriate in relation to the plans that we have in place.
We have several developments in progress.
We do.
We have an apartment building being constructed on Orchard Lake Road, just north of 14 Mile on the west side. Can you tell our viewers anything about that complex or project?
We have a new 4-story apartment building that will be going in behind Panera Bread, if people are familiar with where the new Panera Bread is located. It will have 192 units. And it should be a great development. They are looking to attract young residents to the community, millennials that want to live within a commercial area and be close to entertainment and restaurants and commercial districts.
Do we have any other 4-story complexes in West Bloomfield other than Hampton Inn?
Not that I can think of. What is the hospital? The hospital might be 4 stories off the top of my head. I don't think we have any others.
So in your view as planner, do you think the apartment building will be a draw for millennials and young folks looking for a nice place to live?
I think so. I think it's in a great location, easy access to roadways and get to where they work. I also think that it'll be helpful for our corridor and help bring more activity and people to that corridor, and hopefully it will help bring more businesses for those folks and help make it more of a 24/7 corridor. Orchard Lake kind of gets a lot of businesses close before dark, around after dinner time.
Well, at one time, a 25-year-old, 30-year-old would aspire to own a home. I've read articles that say that millennials are not necessarily interested in owning homes at that age, that they do desire perhaps to live in apartments. Do you have any knowledge along those lines?
I mean, based on the literature that I've read, the millennial generation does tend to be more transient. So their jobs, they're able to work from home more than maybe some of us were in the past, and therefore they can move from city to city based on where they want to live. It doesn't necessarily have to be close to work, or it doesn't necessarily have to be close to their family or what have you. They can kind of locate in a community where they want to be. So they want to have the amenities that they want out of life. So they tend to want to live somewhere that they don't have a lot of time that they have to spend on maintenance of a home or the responsibility of having to sell that home, but they want to be able to have a nice place to live.
We have a housing development called Pinnacle Homes or Legacy Homes.
Yep.
Near Maple and Halstead. How many homes are in that development?
That's a good question. I want to say there are 29 homes in that development. That one is geared towards more empty nesters. They are ranch-style homes, master bedroom and bath on the first floor, and they are selling very well in the community. But again, those are not necessarily geared towards young adults or millennials, but to that empty nester that wants to downsize and still be in the community.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
Working with you, Steve.
But you're excited about work. We know that. You're a hard worker and you have vitality. But what interests you the most or excites you the most about being the planner?
Again, back to why I went into it, I love development and seeing things evolve and change and developing places and how that, what that experience you have when you're in a particular place. But I also love problem solving. So oftentimes, especially in West Bloomfield now, we're dealing with a lot of redevelopment of sites and infill, so the parcels that haven't been developed for whatever reason over the years tend to have more challenges. So coming up with ways to make sure that we are still being consistent with the township's policies and our goals, but how do we also achieve and get good development on those parcels?
Amy, I wish we had more time, but you're very interesting, and I'm sure our viewers appreciate it very much meeting you. Well, thank you for listening to us tonight. We enjoyed the show. Thank you very much. This was Township Talk with Steve Kaplan and Amy Neary.